Thank you, everyone, for coming to the first Real Talk for Professional Black Women and Facebook Live event. Thank you so much, friends. So, Real Talk is a platform that I've designed for Black professional women to have real conversations, to support one another and long. So, let's get started. I started this today because I know that it's tough being a Black woman in America today. And we do need support one for another. And I believe that it's time out for skirting the issues like racism or societal challenges that we have. Sometimes we come together and we want to be politically correct and we want to say, we need to come together in unity and things like that. And we want to create awareness. Well, creating awareness is fine, but there needs to be a balance. Like we're in the midst of this, and Black women need to survive, and we need a lot of survival tips along the way. So I believe that this platform is important. It allows that for these issues to be dealt with through talking and dealt with directly. So, time out for looking somewhere else, to looking for the government, to looking to your jobs leaders, to for the solutions. Today let's you and I be the solutions that we've been looking for. And as an IPEC coach, we believe that the answers to solutions lie within us. And that if we get together and take the time to understand the beautiful creation that God has made us to be, that we will come up with the answers that are inside of us. So, as I think about that today, if you can put into the comments, how does that feel for you? What is your thoughts today about addressing, having real talk to address real issues for Black women? If you can, put some of your comments in the chat for me. I'd really appreciate it. So, even though we are in 2022, I feel like it seems like no matter how hard we try, we as Black women, we're still struggling with things. We're still struggling with things like gaining equal treatment, fair treatment in the workplace, and equal pay that we have, even with our white sisters. We already know with white males, it's a big difference, but even with white women, there's a difference between the pay that a Black woman will receive. So we're still struggling with that. And we're dealing with these things that I'm so glad that we put a name to called microaggressions. I don't know how many of you have heard of the term microaggressions. And when we say microaggressions, it's just what it means. It's like, hmm, when somebody does something, you're like, was that a compliment or was that an insult? I'm not sure. Just like a little tiny slice of you that you're bleeding, it's like a paper cut. You didn't know it, but it went a little deeper than what you thought. Microaggressions. And those are things that on a daily that people say to us, or the way that we're treated, that and those treatments are really based from a prejudicial bias. And so, for example, of a microaggression, it would be somebody, it could be something as simple as somebody after you give a great, powerful speech saying to you, "You're so articulate." But if it was a white male that was speaking on a power platform, you wouldn't go up to him and say, "You know what? I loved it. You're so articulate." He would look like, "What?" Just those little slights that say, "You're not quite what we are." And so in the chat today, if you will share a couple of microaggressions, it could be a behavior or it could be something some people say, feel free to say to you as a Black in the professional woman in the workplace. What microaggressions have you seen? Somebody said the old Backhanded compliments, yes. Thank you. And somebody said, I love what you said about looking within for the solutions. Yes, we are our solutions. Thank you so much for the comments. So sometimes we're so used to microaggressions, we don't even know. Sometimes I like to think of them as lack of boundaries, really, because it deals with value. So lack of boundaries, meaning that you could say anything to a black woman, like anything. You could be like, what? You could be like, I've been in an elevator and somebody turned around and looked at me and said, like anyone, it could be a kid, and say, is that your real hair? You know, it's just like we have no value, no boundaries. Like you're a lab rat on a table, and people could just poke at you and say, "Is that real?" You know, they have no respect. You would never go up to somebody, a non-minority person, and say, "Is that your real hair color?" You know, is that are those your is this real? Is that not real? You know, depending on a cosmetic, appearance, but there's no boundaries. People can say anything many times to black women, and microaggressions, and people don't, most of the time people don't know it because it's so ingrained and allowed in our society. But as black women, we have to know it. We have to understand that this is something that isn't acceptable because it doesn't represent the value that we have and we know ourselves to be. And if you have any comments about that as I'm speaking, please continue um, uh, to mention that. Somebody said, I was just about to say the hair thing. So thank you for that. And so today the platform really is a beginning. It's a webinar, it's 30 minutes, it's short, but it's just the beginning to say, hey, you know what? I know it's not just me. I coach and I'm starting to have black women come to me that are even being, lately I've had a few come to me that are being fired just based off of what somebody that was a non-minority said about them without proof. Without proof. I've had people come to me and say when they've been in a meeting and a person or a manager has treated them or said something that was a microaggression, and maybe they got taken back, like what, that that manager said openly, "Stop rolling your eyes at me." I've had two people use that racial slur, stop, or that stereotype, "Stop rolling your eyes," when really they're just caught off guard that you were bold enough to use a microaggression in a public manner. So, with this being said, these are the things that we go through, as black women. And this is the type of real talk that I would like to be able to have. And, it's nice to have that fluffy cotton candy discussion, but that's not going to help us. We need real talk for black women today. If you think that that is something needed, would you put it in the chat and give me a star and say, yes, that is what we need today. So I'm proposing to you in the short time that we spend together that the impacts of racism, or any societal challenges, are not just inconvenient. Sometimes we think that they're, oh, they're just being racist. Mm, you know, that's just who they are. But that the impacts of racism, they're harmful. I want you to get that in your spirit. They're injurious. They cause injury. We don't think of it that way because we're told to be strong as black women. Just, we're black women. We're tough. No, time out for that. We're not just tough. We're valuable. We don't deserve some things, right? And we have to get back to our base and our worth as well. So they cause injury and harm. There's a saying that sticks and stones, right? Sticks and stones won't will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's a lie. Yeah, it's a lie. Words will hurt you, but you just won't see where the brokenness is, right? Sometimes the brokenness is here. Sometimes the brokenness is here. Words will hurt you. Behaviors will hurt you. They can hurt you. They can hurt you. But we discount it because those things are invisible. So it's so lovely today when we see people codifying mistreatment, putting bones and flesh around it in words such as microaggressions and things like that. And that's happening more and more to help us make tangible this intangible but real situation of racism that we deal with in America. I propose to you that um, racism has real impacts to us, and that we need the opportunity to lift up our voices and to understand that this isn't just something that's inconvenient. Our feelings are important. Our value is important. And so just because it's invisible doesn't mean that it hasn't caused harm. And that's something to think about. Just because something is invisible does not mean that it has not caused harm. So what I would like to also say is, so there is when things are invisible, it's easy to discount them, and it's how do they cause harm? Some people say, well, it's just words. How can they cause harm? Because is there some? Can you put some feedback in? Why do you think that invisible words can cause harm? Well, one reason things like microaggressions cause harm is because they attack um, and us and make us ask a question. What is that question? The question that we ask ourselves is one word, and that one word is the question, why? Why did they say that? Why did they do that? Why do they feel that way about me? Why is a powerful word, because it seems very, very subtle, and it doesn't seem very significant. It sounds just very pondering. Why? But why holds within it at its root the essence of what we believe and who we believe um, that we are. So that is why it's very important. I remember when I would go through experience racism and different things at work and on in a professional setting, you know, I would say, oh, it's not a problem. But what I found out was that I was giving what I call unconsented belief to those messages that were outside of me, saying you're not good enough, you're not valuable enough, you don't deserve to belong and be a part of the group. And I could tell that by the way I was responding, not by what I was saying, but how I was feeling. And those microaggressions, they can, why is it important? If you want to put it in the chat, if you're able to rejoin me, if you want to put into the chat, why is it important? How do these microaggressions surface up and bubble up? What are they doing to us? Well, they take out our energy. Our energy seeps out, our enthusiasm, and we say in IPEC, how we show up, our attitude, our joy, and it kind of takes away little cuts that take away the essence of ourselves and how we show up. So instead of showing up confidently and with a lot of vibrancy, we then can show up, withdrawn and sad and not in our full core, self. And you might say, well, does that matter? How does that impact us? Well, it matters because you're not operating you're disconnecting in what you do with who you are. And it impacts not just you giving your best and presenting your best to the world, everybody around you, how you show up for your children if you feel less than, how you show up for your husband, how you show up for your family can start to be impacted if you believe the messages that we hear from a world that is entrenched with a lot of of racist innuendo. So it is very, very important what we hear. And so I know I went through a time thinking in my life, what's wrong with me? You know, what what's going wrong? Why don't I fit in? You know, and I began to like say like, you know, what? Why am I not strong enough to bear unlimited abuse? Like I should just be strong enough. Like, bring it on. I can carry it. But you know, I found out that I wasn't made to just you know, carry unlimited abuse, you know, and we are not, yeah, somebody put we can become resentful. True. And there are times when we really do need help. If you've been injured, you would expect a doctor to help you. If someone has embarrassed you publicly, humiliated you, yeah, that has harmed you. And you might need support. First of all, you're taken back, but you might need support on how you deal with that, and in a place that you can be, so you can become resilient in a place of your best self. Has anyone ever felt that way? Has anybody ever, you know, been in that situation where they had microaggressions and just kind of poo-pooed it and said it didn't matter, but now sees that it is very, very important. So, just food for thought. So, before I leave you today, I want to give you a few coaching tools as promised. I know you've been waiting for this, and so the two coaching tools are very beginning primary tools. And the first tool is just called centering and breathing. And I don't know about you. Have you ever had anybody tell you to breathe when you've been upset? It's kind of annoying, right? But it's you have to understand breathing, and why that's important is because when something happens to you and you're mistreated or you experience racism, it's usually off the cuff. Like you're not experiencing, it's like hits you, takes you off your game, makes you distracted, takes you, that's why people say, I went sideways, I went left, went right. It takes you off center. See what I'm saying? Those things like, what? You see how you pull back? It takes you out of your core essence. And so when you breathe, that gets you back to focusing. It makes you not lose focus. Like, wait a minute, the things around me can happen. I can't always control what's around me, but I can control myself. And I can know like who I am as a joyous, loving person. And I can respond from that no matter what the world around me brings. I can control. The thing I can control is my response to that. So I'm going to do a breathing activity. It's called centering because it keeps you focused and it can help you keep it all together. If something happens, you can go in the bathroom and do this quick centering technique that I'm about to show you right now. So I'm going you to close your eyes, if you will, if you feel like it. And I'm going to have you breathe in to a count of 4 through your nose and breathe out through your mouth to a count of 8. And what I like to do with my clients is I tell them, when you breathe in, imagine the air that you're breathing in, you're pushing it and enveloping it into any stressful areas. Like if it's in your heart is hurting, breathe in and let that air cover your heart. Let it cover your lower back, where you keep your stress. If it's in your shoulders, imagine that that air is coming over and it's covering, coating every localized point of stress that you feel. And when you breathe out, imagine it taking out all of the toxins and releasing that out of your body. Let's practice that right now. So I want you to breathe in to a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold and breathe out to a count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want you to breathe in to a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Let that air envelop where it needs to envelop. Breathe out to a count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in to a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Breathe out to a count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And last of all, breathe into a count of 4. Breathe out to a count of 8. If you notice right now, somebody said that they use centering all the time. That is awesome, and it's a very great tool, and it helps keep you calm, and it helps. There's we've talked about it today. There's times because of racism, you have a right to be angry, but how we control that anger, how we express that anger, we have every right to stand up for ourselves. But I tell people to stand up. Don't lose the core you in the response, and that's what we show you through coaching. So how did that feel? Did that feel okay? You feel a little calmer? You feel a little clearer? Hopefully you do. Their last coaching technique that I want to talk about today, and we talked about lot of heavy topics earlier about racism, about microaggressions, about how they cause injury and harm because they deal with the why. Why did somebody do that? Why did somebody say that? And the why deals with who we really believe ourselves to be. Am I really valueless? Am I really worthless? Do I really not belong at the table? These unconsented beliefs that go round and round in our head. A last coaching technique I want to share with you today deals with using visualization. So, visualization gives you better awareness of yourself. Because if you have better awareness of who you are, and you don't lose that in the midst of somebody coming at you, you can present yourself with strength, even when you're standing up for yourself in love. You can do that with strength if you have awareness. So let's look at visualization. If you want to, if you would, please close your eyes again. I'm going to ask you some questions that I want you to answer in your mind, okay? So I want you to visualize a happy time, a happy season in your life, or just maybe a happy moment in your life. Could you take a few minutes and do that? Visualize a happy time, a happy moment. As you have that picture in your mind, I want you to look at it. How old are you? What are you doing in the moment? What do you look like? What are you saying? Speaking. What do you see around you? Last question. Why are you happy? I want you to open your eyes. These are the types of things we explore in coaching. Visualization always helps. I use visualizations a lot because when I want people to start being aware of really getting in touch with really who they are. Because when I coach, I want people to learn how to respond. You're always going to have difficulties, but the resiliency and the thrive, our business helps you thrive, go further than you could go on your own, comes from when you understand you need support, when you understand you can speak your truth in love, and when you understand you can show up as you in strength and power in that every time. If you say, I'm joyful, what made you happy? Can anybody comment? What makes you happy? Yeah, somebody said releasing the hate, confusion, frustration from our centering activity. Yes, but what makes you happy when you think about that moment of joy? What about you that you love? What about you do you love? When you can picture what that thing is and identify it, and you can operate from that place of your core and didn't let that injury throw you off, instead of the place of injury, you reclaim your power. And coaching helps people through transitions and through life's, whatever they go through, difficulties, to always stay in a place to reclaim their power. So as tempting as it may be, as I'm kind of wrapping up, we don't have to wait for anyone else to save us. We can become the solution We are the solution to what we've been looking for. And by taking just small steps, I know it's a 30-minute webinar and we've had some challenges, but you know what? Hopefully I've shown today that the challenges, those challenges, they aren't me. They don't dim my light. They don't take my shine. They don't make this webinar less magnificent. It is awesome. This is just the way it should have been. It's my first one and it's just going to go up, 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 up from here, right? That's how we got to be. So, as tempting as it may be, we don't have to wait for someone to save us. Take small steps, acknowledge those challenges. We don't have to ignore them. You know, if it's a microaggression, hey, it's not nice. It's a microaggression. And I can choose whether it means something enough for me to step up and address it or just say, you know what, I'm just going to pray for that person and or I'm just going to understand that they're not enlightened right now. You know, the choice is up to you. We can share our stories because you need to hear that everybody's going through these same things and for validation and build a support system with other Black women. And that's really what Real Talk is attempting to do. So thank you. As you know, we did have some technical difficulties. Feel free to go back to my webpage and catch everything that is there. And thank you for your patience and love for me in this moment. So, and by developing tools and strategies, you know what? It's going to help us to operate out of a space of our best selves so we can make the world better. You know, when you're better, you're going to make somebody else better who doesn't understand. And that's what it's all about. Because at the end, we're all related. We're all brothers and sisters in this world. So, through the Real Talk webinars, our goal is to give Black women an outlet and some coaching techniques in just a real short chunk of time. So in the future, you know, I do want to expand our time so we can share stories. I would like the ability for us to do so, and and also just to give feedback, to celebrate one another's, and to have that platform. So I'm going to send out a survey monkey for your feedback on today's webinar. So, you know, what do you think about the content? What do you think about the presentation? What can we do better in the future? What type of venues, you know, what type of topics, real topics, would you like to hear? Do you need to hear? What strategies would you like for us to discuss? And how would you like to experience this platform moving forward? So before we leave, would you be so kind to put some of your key takeaways or your thoughts in the comments section? Thank you so much. And it has been a wonderful time spending this time with you. So until next time, thank you for joining me for Real Talk for Black Professionals. And until next time, love and kisses. This is Julie Sanchez signing off.